Hey there, folks. Welcome to the edition of Stranger in a Southern Land. I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning. Today in the program, the wrestling tag team of the Bravado Brothers. That's right, I have Harlem and Lancelot Bravado on the program today. And now these guys, they don't do a lot of wrestling podcasts or wrestling interviews, but they said they'd make a special concession for me because we're buddies and we go way back. You know, we've traveled the roads together and we've set up a wrestling ring or two together. And also, too, it turns out we know each other much longer than I originally thought. As we discussed in this interview, I knew them well before they went off to Philadelphia to wrestle for Ring of Honor Wrestling and go to their training school, and boy, do they talk about Ring of Honor Wrestling. They pull no punches there. So that's a very interesting conversation. But, you know, these are very interesting guys that believe in themselves and very proud natives of North Carolina as they travel this world from UK to Japan, you know, just performing professional wrestling. And a lot of time at wrestling shows, I don't get an opportunity to sit down and talk to these guys for an extended period of time. So I feel very fortunate and very lucky that we got to record this podcast. And it's well over an hour. I mean, they really were at it, and it was really nice talking to them. So they really do love pro wrestling. So I love talking to people that love professional wrestling as well. Speaking of loving professional wrestling, I will be doing it this weekend for Big Time Wrestling. This Friday, October 2nd, I will be in Alma, Georgia with Big Time Wrestling. And I'll also be in Hartsville, South Carolina the next day, October the 3rd, this Saturday for Big Time Wrestling. So make sure you come out for those wonderful events for Big Time Wrestling. Always love it when they come down in the Mid-Atlantic region. I don't have any really comedy dates to announce to you right now, but I always want to let you know. Make sure you come out to Tremonstrous Comedy Show every Wednesday at Tremont Music Hall. And also don't forget about the Charlotte Comedy Theater performing in the NC Music Factory every Friday and Saturday. So make sure you check out those wonderful opportunities to see some local comedy here in the greater Charlotte area. Anyways, if you guys want to follow me on social media, make sure you follow me on Twitter at ManScoutManning and on Instagram at ManScoutManning. If you have a question about the podcast, make sure you email me at jake@sslshow.com. Or if you want to book me for an upcoming wrestling event, make sure you email me at manscoutmanning@yahoo.com. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump into this wonderful podcast with the wrestling tag team, the Bravado Brothers, here on Stranger in a Southern Land. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting here with the Bravado Brothers, and don't correct me until I get it right. All right. It is Clint and Houston, otherwise known as Lancelot and Harlem.
You're our true friend because
my God.
most people don't know. So you just proved that you're pretty much our best friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think where the big confusion is I think I have you listed as Clint in my phone, and so like it's always been a confusing thing. So it's like right. Every time I see you guys, it's like I have to remind myself. It's like when you file and do the ABCs. You got to memorize it. So.
It's been a long-standing thing that I think Pierce was probably one of the first people who was just like bravados, just encompassing for both of us. So I think most people just say bravados, and we just
and
respond.
When they want one of us, they don't really care which one it is. They just go, "Hey, bravado," and then whichever one comes first, that's usually who they talk to.
Because you're interchangeable.
Exactly.
Right. Just pretty much.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though. I haven't quite figured it out yet.
Yeah, well, that means you have equal skill set.
I'll go with that.
Okay.
Plus, our mom, like when we call, she can't tell our voices apart. So she'd be like, "Is this Clint or Houston? Houston or Clint?"
Yeah.
And then when she's talking to us after we've established which one it is, she'll still say Clint Houston. That's just how she does it.
But her mind is not the best, so it's not just us; it's her as well. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you just brought up your mom. What was it like growing up, like family? Like, is it just you two, like the brothers, and we are good friends, and I know your names, but like how many years are you guys apart?
I'm 3.5 years older than Clint.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's the age difference there.
Yeah.
So.
And it was, it was our parents until our divorce, and then it was our grandma until forever. So.
Fair.
Yeah.
But even it might be different for you because you were older. But when they divorced, it didn't seem like much changed for me.
Yeah, because my grandma was always we always were sort of with my grandma anyway. But then like once our parents got divorced, our parents were still around, but we were just with our grandma pretty much all the time.
How'd that happen, if you don't mind?
They work construction.
Oh, they were construction.
And they actually, even after they divorced, they still worked together.
Right.
So it wasn't like, oh, we hate you, like we hate each other, we're never talking to each other again. They would still ride to work together and things like that.
And they still get along together great.
Yeah, today. So.
Yeah,
so they would go to work and we would go. When they would go to work, we would get dropped off at our grandma's house and get ready for school, and then.
So it's more of a situation of like they're just so busy as it is.
Right. Yeah, because with the construction work, a lot of times they would be out of town. My father's a sheet metal mechanic, and my mother was a sheet metal assistant. She was his helper, and so they just were long hours and out of town on the road a lot. So that's. Well, it's
in our blood to go out of town and live on the road.
We gotta
just be gypsies.
Yeah,
take your craft.
We learned from a very young age. You got to go where the money is. So.
And we chose professional wrestling. So
yeah, so you went in the opposite direction of where the money is. That's your way. But you guys grew up in Eden, North Carolina. Am I correct on this? Or
that is
area?
Correct. Yeah.
How big is Eden? Like, describe what that's like.
What, 15,000?
Around there.
Population,
yeah.
15,000?
I mean, it may have increased a little bit over the last few years, but between 15, 17,000 people. And it's Eden, North Carolina, was not always Eden until the 60s. It was 3 separate towns. It was Leakesville, Spray, and Draper. And if you're from Eden, people still identify themselves as where they're from in Eden. So
you kind of like that. It's like, oh, it's one of those that part of town.
Right, yeah. And Draper's always been looked down upon.
It's the rougher part, and that's where my dad is from. It's from Draper, the Draper section of Eden. It's like when Taz is introduced as from the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Yeah. We would be from the Draper section of Eden, North Carolina.
Yeah, I've got that predicament going on in our hometown. We just consolidated schools, and we always used to look down at East Central. So it's always like those Miles kids are bringing us down, and then the Sebula kids, like the River Trash.
All the best athletes are from Draper. All the guys who are good in basketball, football, like they're from, and it's just like a toughness thing. Like I think the people from Draper are tougher than the guys from like Leakesville and Spray, and it shows in like athleticism and things like that.
And we also have this awesome predicament in Eden where our middle school teams will be like all conference, and we'll have players who are like all state.
Incredible.
And then like by the time they get to varsity basketball, they've all dropped out of school. So then our varsity teams are always really bad.
True. Like it's pretty bad because we just have like super athletes just walking up and down the streets. They'd rather just be hanging out on a Friday night than
just lift weights 3 days a week and then drive their cars on Saturdays. And,
and they just they're so gifted, and they just you see them walking up and down the streets more than being in a gym, or it's crazy to me, but that's how it is at our town.
So I'm guessing you guys weren't the miscreants that were just walking the streets, or did you actually participate?
No, Grandma kept us off the streets. That's
for sure.
That wasn't us.
Is that your next T-shirt? Grandma kept us off the streets.
Could be. We're products of the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, Boys and Girls Clubs of America. Big shout out. If you want to donate any money on behalf of the Bravado Brothers, Boys and Girls Clubs of America is our preferred charity.
Anytime I donate money, it's to the Boys and Girls Club. Any charity work I do is for the Boys and Girls Club. So.
Yeah, so those big wrestling paychecks.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
What but anyways, like, what'd you guys do in like athletics? Like, what'd you do in high school?
Mostly basketball.
I played basketball. Like a perfect example of what he's talking about. Like, so JV, my 10th grade year, we went undefeated, all conference champions, and we were like, okay, next year varsity, like we're gonna win state championship. Yeah. Like we were just incredible. And now it's not they dropped out of school. Like there was a really bad car wreck. Of our 4, there were 4 guys in the car, but 3 of them were like the top guys on our team, and not only in basketball but in football as well. Like just one guy broke his femur.
Yes,
his femur, and that's a rod. That's 1 year off. Regardless, and like you're never really the same after that. And that was our star basketball player. Like in 10th grade, he was getting looks from colleges. Like that's how good he was. And it's just we had high hopes, and then just.
And Jay ended up in a wheelchair.
Jay Allen, yeah, he's still paralyzed, still can't walk from the waist down. It's terrible. And he was a big football guy. He was the starting quarterback.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Especially in a small community like that, exactly. That's got to hit like.
It did, but and it also like it was cool because it pulled everybody together a little bit. Just for like those few weeks, it was like. That was like the highest attended football games because it happened during football. Like they went out to Greensboro, and were on the way back and fell asleep at the wheel. So but those 2 weeks were awesome. Like everybody filled the stadium. Like there was it was really cool.
And that's also a big reminder for us as professional wrestlers. Like, we sort of take it for granted being on the road all the time, but it's so easy to fall asleep behind the wheel, and it can ruin
and we
your
do
life.
it a lot.
Yes,
like
and-
it's scary.
I feel like that's a segue
A
for
segue
me.
to Harlem Bravado almost killed
Do you know?
us.
Have we told you this before?
no. Well, we're there. Let's jump into
Let's
it.
do it. Okay.
We'll
I feel like
jump
that was a
around.
segue. Yeah.
We'll jump around. He's running the interview.
Yeah.
Okay. So when just to set this up. We moved from Eden to Philadelphia.
Yes.
When I was 19 years old, I was still 18. I'm sorry. I was 18 years old.
I think I was like 21.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You were the one buying beer that time.
We don't drink.
We don't drink. Neither one of us. So,
Wasted.
we moved to Philadelphia to attend the Ring of Honor Wrestling Academy.
Yeah.
There were 12 people in our class that started, and we were the only two who finished.
Mm-hmm.
Only ones who made it all the way through. So it just so happened we were at a Ring of Honor show in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So it was us two driving a van full of people. So we did the ring crew.
It was wait a minute, hold on now. Let's give shout outs. It was us and all of our Ring of Honor homeboys. It was Sean and Rhett Titus and Grizzly Redwood and
Ernie Osiris.
and Right Leg Andy Ridge was there,
And Mike Seidel.
and Mike Seidel was there.
Was that the first one at that? It wasn't the. Gosh.
It was at the Metrolina.
You were
Yes,
there.
the Metrolina,
I'm
yes.
saying you were there.
But
Yeah.
it wasn't in our match because we wrestled one time.
Yes, we did at the
It was
Metrolina.
it was the next one.
It was the one after that.
The next show,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I know.
Because I'm sorry, it wasn't the next one because that was the one where I was paralyzed the night before for like 3 hours.
Right.
So it was the second one after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
That was
think
crazy.
I was
That's a
there.
crazy
I was
story.
there for all of them, but there was one that we wrestled at.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was two after that one.
Okay.
So we wrestled Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Then we
keep in mind this also in audio form where you put a thumbs down.
Yes.
And then guessing that's what Charlie said to you when you asked him, Charlie, what do you want for a finish? He looked at you and gave you a thumbs
that
down.
was exactly
Long and short of it.
not
was,
just
yeah,
him.
That was
him
it.
and Shelton.
I didn't even tell you what they were going to finish you with.
Exactly.
They just said thumbs down.
Right.
We did. That was all we needed.
we
I mean,
knew.
we're professionals. We understand.
So, and for the people who are listening that are not wrestling fans, sometimes in wrestling, the best person doesn't always win.
Right.
That's just how it is.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm a better wrestler than Charlie Haas, but what I'm saying is,
You're a better person than Charlie Haas.
in my opinion, yes, and I think in other people's opinions,
We're
as
only
well.
talking about morally. We're not talking about anything else. I think Charlie's a great guy. I just don't know morally.
Oh, so
morally.
you're backing up on the whole.
I
whole
like
sense of
Charlie.
that. Okay.
I like Charlie and Shelton.
I do too. Apparently, Clint's the only one that doesn't
Yeah.
like Charlie.
No, I like him personally. Professionally, though, professionally and personally are two different things.
Okay.
Just because you attack somebody in the locker room doesn't make you a bad person.
So anyway, we're getting off. Okay, so we wrestled Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin.
Uh-huh.
It was what it was. We get done. We do the ring crew, which is like 3 hours
Yeah.
roughly.
The
Two-
Ring of
two
Honor
different trucks.
For anybody who doesn't know, if you have ever done Ring of Honor ring crew, then you have done the hardest ring crew in the world, as coming from someone who has done ring of crew all around the world.
Oh,
That's
true story.
hands
the hardest
down.
setup in the world.
I always like when I was doing ringside camera for Ring of Honor, I felt so bad for you guys that I would jump in sometimes and
Right.
help.
Yes, you would.
Just because I was like, oh my god, this is going because you guys would show. Call time was always like 12 for
Yep.
an 8 o'clock show.
Yep.
Right.
And like you were doing it till like basically the last minute.
There were
Right,
always,
yeah.
yeah,
And
always
then,
things.
and then, of course, you got to tear all that down, and everybody's there late, and just like I always say, if I'm ever going to run a wrestling promotion, just give me some Ring of Honor students, and that's all I need.
Because
You know,
basically, Ring of Honor was, you have companies that are smaller than that, where they have guys who can set up the ring, and then you have real companies that pay people, like professional people, to come in and set up rigs and
and they
everything.
got
Like union people, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you have Ring of Honor, which is right there in the middle, where they are almost big enough to have nice things that are really heavy and take a long time to set up, but they don't want to kick that extra cash to get somebody else to come set it up. So they'll use the students.
especially when you have young, hungry kids that just, if you say, we'll give you a match if
Right.
you do this.
They say you won the dream, right?
Oh my gosh, I'll be there at 10 and
Right.
I'll help for 8 hours and then I'll wrestle for 10 minutes and then I'll wait around for everybody else to finish minutes and I'll be here for another 5 hours and then drive all the way straight to the building.
And it sounds crazy, but like it happens all the time, like all the time. And even people who are undeserving of it still get the opportunities, and that's just how it is.
Yeah,
That's
but
just
I
how it
mean,
is.
but at the same time too, you're living a dream, and it's like you're getting put on some of the best shows.
Absolutely. No, and at the time when we were talking about, we were very happy to be there, and it's not, it's
Wrestling the Hammerstein Ballroom,
Absolutely. Yes.
Wrestling in Chicago, like just big markets, big crowds,
Right.
You
and
can't go-
and it is the hardest ring crew, but at the same time, like if you if you weren't willing to do that, then you weren't going to get those opportunities.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. If you weren't willing to go that extra mile, if you weren't willing to fall asleep at the wheel,
Right.
which brings
Here
us
we
all
go.
back around
Good
to the
host.
story. You couldn't escape on that one.
I'm glad you know how to edit these things because that would have been a long segue.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I brought it all back around.
No.
He did.
I've been doing this for
Like
a
I said,
while.
it's a conversation.
Yeah.
So, we're on the way back from Charlotte.
Yes.
Everybody's complaining like, we just worked hard, like we had matches and now we're eating, now everybody's hungry.
Mhm.
They're like, look, let's just stop at Denny's. Let's stop at Denny's. I was like, okay, cool. So everybody eats and I'm the one driving. Like I was like, I'm gonna do the first shift. They're like, okay, cool.
Which is the worst because you're slowing down. You're putting food in your stomach. Now you're getting tired.
Exactly.
You just rather just everybody grab some food and let's just keep going.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we stop at Denny's. We sit down for 40 minutes to an hour. I'm full. I'm like, okay, guys, let's go. So when I get back in the car, it's 3:15 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to drive until 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, cool. Everybody's out.
Which is the
I'm
worst
driving.
time because if you could just make it the sun up,
You're good.
Once the sun's up, you're okay.
Right.
But it's that twilight hour
Yeah.
that's horrendous.
It's very bad. And so, especially, and like, I'm not, some people, when you take the road trips are like, the guy riding shotgun has to stay awake. And like, I understand if he can't. Like, I get it. Like, and especially if he's going to be the next person to drive, like, he needs to sleep.
Yeah, because he needs somebody to give the hot tag to.
Exactly. So we're building.
But I will say Sean was riding shotgun, and Sean never sleeps. I've never seen Sean fall asleep on a road trip.
Until this one time. And now he probably is scared to death to fall asleep again. So I'm like, okay, we're going to drive till 4:30, and I'm good. And Sean is very good about asking you, like, hey, are you okay? Like, do you want to stop and get an energy drink? Do you want to stop and get a protein bar? Like, he's very good at checking in on you because he does it sometimes. One time he drove the ring truck from Chicago to Philadelphia straight through, which was like 22 hours. Like, so he's the man.
Especially with those ring trucks. Like, I drove to Chicago from Charlotte in like a box truck, and that's just
The worst thing.
It's the worst because you're stuck. You're like going 65 miles per hour, like floor.
Right.
It's a frustrating experience.
So he does it. So he knows. Like, hey, you need anything? Do you need anything? And he's constantly always on me. Then he falls asleep, and I'm like, okay, like I'm turning music up, like I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, oh, I'm good. 30 more minutes. I'm good. Sean wakes up at like 4:10. He's like, hey, like go ahead and hit this next gas station. Like I'm kind of thirsty, and we'll go ahead and switch because he's next in line to drive. I was like, no, man, I got it till 4:30. Like I'm good. He's like, okay. 10 minutes later, 4:20. He wakes up, hey man, go ahead and hit this next gas station. Like I'm ready to drive now. He's like, I can't go back to sleep for 10 minutes. I'm like, no, I got it. I said 4:30. I'm gonna take it to 4:30.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Houston is asleep with his head against the window. He's on the right side. He's on the passenger side, head against the window.
And Sean is awake. He just asked him, hey, do you want to switch? Sean said that he rubs his eyes like this.
Yeah. So he just asked me. It's like 4:22 at this point. Hey, do you want to go ahead and stop? No, I got it to 4:30. And Sean says he doesn't fall back asleep. He just bends down and rubs his eyes. And then when he's coming up, he sees me hitting the wall. Bam.
Yes.
On the side, on his side.
Yeah.
So I wake up on impact. I jerk the wheel.
Yeah.
We go up on 2 wheels. Because I'm cruising at 70.
Yeah.
2 wheels. Oh shit, gotta go back the other way. Bam. We're back down, up on 2 wheels the other side. Slam on the brakes, but I'm just skidding across the highway. I wake up or I look around, I say, somebody hit us. Because that's just my first instinct is like somebody had to hit us because I was just driving.
And there's no one on the road.
And I stop and I look around and there's nobody either way. Thank God. You know what I mean? Because it could have been way worse.
Because when he pulled back on 2 wheels across the interstate, if there would have been traffic.
I was in the fast lane. I was in the passing lane. So I went across 2 lanes of traffic, across the rumble strips, and then hit the wall.
Mm-hmm.
If there would have been traffic, it would have been really, really bad. And so he's like, pull over. We pull over. And I'm in shock. Like,
Adrenaline's flowing.
Good, right?
You could definitely make it to 4:30
For
now.
sure, right? I'm good. And it's so bad. Like, you can't open the side door. You can't open the. It's a rental.
It's a rental.
This is an Enterprise van that had 200 miles on it when we rented it.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new.
Oof.
The whole side of the van is done.
Like thrashed.
Can't get out on that side.
We have to pull. The front fender is laying on the tire, so we have to like collectively pull it back so that we can continue to go. And Sean's just like, I got it. We'll drive. Come on, we got to go.
And at this point, we are 2 hours outside of Charlotte. So we have still 6 hours to go to Philadelphia. And Sean drove the rest of the way. He would not let anyone else drive.
So he drives the rest of the way. The punchline, besides nobody dying, which it could have happened, especially if there was traffic. Like it's such a blessing that there was no traffic. He's like, look, we're gonna park the van at your house when we get home. He said, I'm gonna come get it Monday morning and return it. All right, cool. So Sean says he comes and gets the van, and he's driving to the Enterprise.
And he wants to, of course, they charge you if you don't fill up the tank. So Sean goes and fills up the tank.
He stops.
Yeah, let's save money on that, not the fact that the entire van is destroyed on one side.
And he's like, look, well, but before, as he meets me at the house, he's like, look, I need the $500 for the deductible. He's like, it's under my insurance, but we got to pay him $500 for any accident. So I'm like, okay, cool, $500. Like, it's the least I could do. You know what I mean? But so $500, he takes off. He stops to get gas. He fills up the gas tank. And he said, as he's filling up the gas tank, the hood just starts smoking, smoke just rolling out of it. So he's like, oh God. He pulls the hood. When I hit, the battery had flipped over. So now battery acid is spilling all over the engine.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Jesus.
So he's like, oh no. It's right. The Enterprise is the next parking lot over. So he pulls the gas out, puts it up, and just like
pushes the van
into the
Enterprise.
next parking lot. And he said it stops because he used the tire iron to flip the battery back over. So now there's no more battery acid filling out, so it stops smoking. Pushes it into the parking lot. He said the guy comes out. And he's like, oh, how'd you do it? And he's like, oh, we had a little accident. We hit a deer. But from the driver's side, it's no damage. It's fine.
Yeah.
So the driver's side is facing the door. So he said he walks out with his clipboard. He's like, oh, it doesn't look so bad. And he said he walks around to the other side and he drops his clipboard. He said it was like something straight out of a movie. He just drops his clipboard and his pen and is just looking at this. He's like, did you call the police? He's like, no, man, we just wanted to get home and we didn't want you to charge us for another day. So, and he's like, I gotta call somebody.
And Sean said, like, okay, well, I'm gonna go.
He's like, yeah, here's your $500 for the deductible. I'm gonna go. Thanks.
Bye.
And that was.
It's like the old Davey Boy Smith story where he wrecked the one side. He just pulled up. I'm like, I'm returning him. Oh, okay. Goodbye, Mr. Smith. And then he left it, and they didn't check the other side till like he'd already left.
Right.
There's information and stuff like that.
Well, unfortunately, they called us. I wish that would have been.
Yeah. It's not like that.
I'd be $500 richer.
Exactly. But that reminds me of the story of Caleb Conley, speaking of Ring of Honor and flipping around. He was going to Manassas one time. First time he ever wrestled for Ring of Honor. He was in like a 6-man.
I wrestled with him. We were in the match.
Before that, I don't know if he told you because he's a tight-lipped person if you didn't know this.
Right. He always expresses his emotions to me.
Okay. Well,
they have a special relationship.
He's my younger brother, so he doesn't talk to me. He doesn't have the relationship that you guys have. That's why we're not a tag team. You guys are.
I think there's money in that.
Have you seen the new shirts?
No.
Revolution Love Wins.
Oh, well, so there you go. Yeah, but anyways, I can't remember if it was on the way up or on the way back, and he had the High Spots van, the old silver gray one, and he was right on the interstate on 95, and it was during that snowstorm.
Right.
He was going up in that, and he said he did a complete 360 on the fucking interstate. Like, he hit a patch of ice and he was spinning, just out of control. And luckily there was nobody on the road, but he was just fucking spinning. I think he did hit the wall, but there was so much snow it didn't do any damage.
Luckily.
Yeah.
But like, I think he did hit it and might have like scraped it up a little bit. But like, he had that same situation where he spun it around, But it just goes back to like, normal person's like, oh, it's bad weather, I'm not going to go. But he was like, no, this is my chance to be on Ring of Honor.
It's like, I got to go wrestle.
Like, you'll do stupid stuff just to do it.
Right. Like, people, for those of us who are not wrestling fans, listen, like, we have to work or we don't get paid for that week or whatever it is. So there's a lot of times where wrestlers are hurt, whether it be from the gym or from the previous match, and they're just like, oh, but this is an opportunity, and if I don't do this, if I don't wrestle for this, maybe I'll lose an opportunity.
Yeah, and it's
so
not
it's
even
crazy.
Like, it's not even like money. It's like also a chance of like luck.
Exactly.
What if the right person's there and they see this, and what if they're filming this show and then somebody sees that, and it's because it's all luck in the end.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
And that's the things like the crazy stuff you'll do just to be on like Ring of Honor, which you guys picked up and moved from North Carolina to go to Philadelphia. You briefly mentioned that,
Mm-hmm.
but before you guys did that, I remember you guys knocking around. I think it was AIWF.
Absolutely.
Yes.
AIWF.
Yes.
It's that old, like, and I remember seeing that in the magazines and going, man, this is an outlaw show. And I didn't even know what an outlaw show was. Like,
For sure. Like, we decided that, I mean, we have always been lifelong wrestling fans. Like, my grandmother was the biggest wrestling fan I've ever known.
Yeah.
She used to, like, record, this is back, VCRs.
Yeah.
She would have, like, Monday Nitro recorded, and then she'd watch Raw live. Or either she'd record Raw and then stay up late and record the replay of Nitro. And then we would literally just watch that tape over and over
All
until
week.
the next show came on, whether it be SmackDown or Thunder, and record that, and then rewatch that until Saturday night. When Saturday night came on, then we'd watch that, record that, and just watch it. And just, this was continuous through our whole lives.
Literally, it seemed like wrestling was on 24/7.
Right.
Like just all like if you walked in the house, wrestling was going to be on.
Yeah.
That's how it was.
So, it's just, that's how it was in my house.
Yeah.
But,
but how did you decide to go? Hey, let's go do
right.
this.
So,
and-
always been wrestling fans. So,
Yeah.
we decided, like,
You try
hey,
to pass that off to me, man. I
right,
don't appreciate that.
I'm gonna be honest. I forgot what we were talking about. I got on a
Don't worry,
got
I
on a
got it.
tangent.
I got it.
Right.
I'm
So
the host. I'll bring it back around.
he has always, Clint has always wanted to be a pro wrestler. Like, that's his whole life. Like, when he was in school, what do you want to be? He wants to be a pro wrestler. I never was like, I always loved wrestling, but I never wanted to be a pro wrestler. But he just, his enthusiasm was just overtaken. And then when we got to be adults, he still wanted to be a pro wrestler. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to work a 9-to-5 job. So let's do that. Let's be pro wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided, like, Ring of Honor had started coming out with DVDs, like, around the time when I was, 15 or 16. And that's when we started getting interested. We're like, oh, well, this is really cool. And then there was this pro wrestler named Brian Danielson. And I was like, oh, man, this guy's awesome. And he just happened to be the trainer at the Ring of Honor school. And we were like, let's go train with this guy, and we can be pro wrestlers like him. Awesome. Well, Dragon gets hurt. And the Ring of Honor school doesn't accept any students for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was only 17 at the time. So, but I was like,
Ready.
I was like, this guy is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously everybody knows that now, but I was just like, this guy's incredible. Like, I need to get trained by this guy.
Right.
But that would have been a little bit harder than the alternative, which was waiting a year and then dropping out of college and then moving. So,
So at the time, Dragon's down, but we want to be pro wrestlers now. We don't know when the Ring of Honor school is going to open back up. So we see a flyer for an independent show in Wentworth, North Carolina, like 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, let's go watch this independent show. And it was as wonderful as you would imagine it
Yeah.
would be.
it
Like
was
I said-
as outlaw as you think it
Oh,
would
yeah,
be.
I didn't even know what outlaw shows were, but I was like, yeah, this would be it. Like,
But
yeah.
here's the thing, especially for like young wrestlers now, like if there was somebody in North Carolina that was like, hey, I kind of want to be a pro wrestler, I would recommend it just based on the amount of shows they run.
But these
Yeah.
guys run shows
A
every
lot.
week.
We
Like,
had
yeah.
like when we so we go to these shows and they train us before the shows, and we just do minimal training or what, because they can only show you what they know.
They don't. I mean, yeah. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I think everybody knows that the talent level is not equivalent to what you might see on TV.
So they can show you what they know, but they can't really show you much more than that. And then it's like, okay, I guess you can have a match now.
Yeah, and it was pretty much like, everybody in the locker room will come out and chop you, and then they'll practice doing their moves on you, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, well you can bump and yeah,
like you keep coming around, so
give you a match.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not knocking it because I went through the same thing as well. Because I found out where all these wrestling schools were. Like they had that big special about APW,
Right.
John Cena on
Right.
it. But like at that moment in time, I remember that happening, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize, because I was under the impression the only way you became a wrestler was you became a Division I athlete.
Right.
And Jim Ross showed up, watched you do the bench press a couple of
Right.
times, and then you did a couple hip tosses in the ring, and then you got a WWE
Good.
contract, and
Right.
you wrestled at Madison Square Garden as Rocky Maivia.
Yep.
That's the only way that I understood how you became a pro wrestler until I found out about those schools, and then I was like OVW and all these other places. But then I heard about much like you, found a flyer for a show in Springfield, ended up going there, spending time for a year, tried to get on some of the shows, and then just kind of wandered where I ended up, and just ended up in Charlotte.
Yeah, and I have some great memories from the AIWF.
Like we obviously didn't know what we were doing,
Right.
but
Yeah.
we were wrestling every weekend.
Yeah.
And how do you find out what to do? You do it wrong, and then somebody tells you, hey, this is how you do it right.
And eventually you start getting on other shows based
Right.
off of this, and then
Like,
you start.
we weren't good, but like you said, I think people just like, hey, these guys wrestle every weekend. Like, let's use them on our show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then-
and also too, you're figuring out if you like it yourself. because you're still trying to be sold on the whole idea of it. Like, you guys were just talking about, oh, let's just go straight to Philadelphia. Like, there are a lot of exterior factors that could have come into play that could have hindered your love for it. Because you're like, oh, gosh, I got no money, and I got to go to practice, and then this, and then just it would have drained it out of you. Where you did it, you're like, okay, this is how good it could be, but obviously it can be better.
Right.
You know, and that was your thought process, I imagine.
No, that was good. I mean, I couldn't have even expressed it as well as you just expressed it. But yeah, that
other than it was just we were motivated by the love, and then we got a little taste of it, and then we're like, oh yeah, this is really cool. Like, let's do this.
It can be good. It's possible.
Yeah.
You know, like, because you could have gone to Philly and be like, oh, this is just too impossible.
Right. Yeah. So it gave us a opportunity to be on shows and see what shows were like and see what people were doing, and we got to be on some in those early matches. We got to be on some shows with some good people just because we were around. Like the first time we met Casey McKnight, but what they don't call him Casey McKnight. Scott Dawson, right? First time we met Scott Dawson, we were just young guys, and he's always been a big hefty guy, but I was like, oh man, this guy looks like a wrestler. He knows what he's doing. And then we were one of our first shows we were on with you and Brad Attitude. You guys were taking on the New Age Outlaws, and we had like 5 matches. We were like, oh man, I'm on a show as New Age Outlaws. This is pretty cool.
That was legit like our 5th match ever, and we got paid $50. And I was like,
this is the greatest thing ever.
Wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, and there was nobody there. I don't know how they came up with that
Right.
money.
No.
I don't know how they came up with the pay Road Dogg and Billy Gunn.
Right.
Like,
And we got paid $50, and I was just like, wrestling is about to be the greatest thing of all time. Like, I can get paid $50 a week. Like, I was still in high school.
Yeah.
So like that was just the coolest thing to me.
So we knocked around the AIWF for a little bit, and then like we did that for several months, probably closer to a year. And then they announced that they were reopening the Ring of Honor School. So we were like, oh, let's go to the Ring of Honor School. Except for now, it wasn't going to be Brian Danielson. It was Delirious, which is, we decided like, oh, okay, well, Delirious is still good. We'll go up
Right.
there.
yeah, absolutely. And you guys, you became ring crew, and we talked about that and stuff like that. But like, the way people know you now and the gimmick and the stuff that you guys have now is because of that short time you were with Ring of Honor doing all the promos about grandmother and everything, like wearing the Argyle sweaters and everything else like that. Like, you just kind of were on the shows before. I think even we wrestled, you guys were just kind of wrestling on the shows.
Right,
You
yeah.
didn't have anything. But when you cut to those promos, I mean, that struck such a nerve that I still think you guys are even playing off that character even now.
Oh,
That's
no.
years later.
For sure.
And
Whose idea was that, and how that come about? And
it's
It was all about luck, really. So we, like you said, we were doing the same thing. Like we were just wrestlers.
You're just
And
Bravado
that's
Brothers.
cool.
I think it had like the Mario Brothers.
Pokemon, bro.
Pokemon, yeah.
Okay.
Still
wears Pokemon.
Still weapon.
But yeah, the Pokemon gear, and like it was cool. But I feel like you need to be able to be a wrestler before you can be a character. That's just my opinion.
No, I totally agree with that,
Okay.
because I wanted to be Man Scout day one, and they told me that was stupid, and they made me a Mr. Perfect knockoff, which wasn't that much. I was Mr. Elite.
Right.
But anyways, and then I became Jake Manning. But then, like, I started in 03, but I didn't do the Man Scout until 07. But I'm so glad I did it that way, because I learned how to wrestle first.
Right, and that's important. And like I'm sure it sucked for you though, because you're like, no, I want to be this guy. Like when you start being a wrestler, you kind of have an idea of who you want to be. Like, especially if you've loved wrestling for a long time, you're like, that would be my character. And sometimes that's not always you. Like, you can have an idea for it, but that's not always.
You could have boxed yourself in a corner and just being all character, and not having your wrestling moves.
Exactly. And I think character wrestlers, and you can attest to this, I think sometimes you get pigeonholed even after. So you went through right. So
this is your podcast, not mine.
Right, fair enough. Next time we'll interview you and we'll have you on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
But so we were just, that's part of it. You just become a wrestler first, and then you'll know how to act and react, because that's what wrestling is, right? Like, you're just in a ring and you're acting.
And also, too, as a character, then you know how to bend the rules
Exactly.
to your will.
So, but back to it being luck. So we were just wrestlers. There was a double shot. It was Detroit, Michigan, and Toronto, Canada.
And Ring of Honor had this hot new tag team. They were looking at these young guys, and they were like, we're going to make something out of these people. And it was a tag team by the name of Cole and O'Reilly.
Yep.
Future Shock. So we had wrestled them the week before on HDNet TV tapings. It was only 8 minutes, but it was good. And that was like our first time. I was like, wow, like we can, like if they just let us do this, like we can do it. But we still didn't have any character. There was nothing special about us. We could just have good matches, right?
We had been going out and putting people over and doing what we were told. And now they were like, oh, well, you can do some stuff too.
And
like,
also, this was also at the time where booking change had happened. So Adam Pearce was the booker for Ring of Honor. at this time. It had just happened where he had gotten fired, and Delirious, our trainer, had taken over as the booker. Now, in my mind, or I'm sure in a lot of people's mind, you think, oh, this is the guy who trained you, so that's going to be good for you. That's not necessarily the case.
Did not help us get booked on any shows.
Right. So Pierce that came up to us, and he was like, look, this was 2 weeks before he got fired. He said, look, you guys have been working hard. You always do everything we ask you to do. He's like, you guys are going to be my undercard tag team. He's like, I want you guys baby faces. I want you to go out there and eat people's lunches. And on the if you're on the pre-show, go out there and eat people's lunches.
Instead of sending Dark City, I'm going to send the Bravado Brothers.
Right. It was getting to that. It was getting to that.
So, and he was like, I believe it was just like a good faith gesture. Like, I believe in you. And like sometimes that's really good. Like, because
I appreciated it.
Right. You don't know. Like, if somebody doesn't tell you you're doing a good job, sometimes you don't always know.
Because you're just bumbling out there. You're just having matches. You don't know. You just want somebody to just, when you're young like that, you just want somebody to grab you and tell you, it's okay, keep what you're doing.
Yeah. You know? And if I'm wrong, please tell me that too.
Yes.
But give me something.
Especially in our position, because I guess if you're in a position where they're pushing you, you don't really need so much of a pat on the back. But when they're using you as an enhancement position, then it's kind of like, oh man. This is getting sort of,
but we're getting good reactions though. Like from the crowd in our matches, we're getting good reactions, and the other wrestlers are saying you guys are doing a good job. But nobody in management or a position
you're on
of
some
power,
shows, you're not on other shows,
right? And it was so frustrating. Like, please tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can fix it and be on all these shows. So the week before we had this match with Cole and O'Reilly on TV, everybody was like, "Good job, guys. That's exactly what we wanted from you. Cool." Pierce gets fired. So that first TV taping is the first one under Delirious.
But we were like, oh. Pierce was just high on us. Delirious, he trained us. We're going to be on these shows because, they're happy with us.
It's going to translate.
No.
We're not on Michigan. The very next show we're not on. It's just like, man, what is going on? But we go anyway because we're doing Ring Crew. And like,
because you have to.
To sit there and watch your peers just be like, gosh, these guys are out here wrestling, having awesome matches. And we just got told that we were going to be this team, and now we're not. It's just like, okay.
But you take it in stride like everything else in wrestling. So we go to Michigan, and unfortunately, there's an injury.
Eddie Edwards gets hurt. So it's supposed to be Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards the next night in Canada against the All Night Express. And then it's supposed to be Steen and Generico versus Future Shock. So Eddie Edwards gets hurt. Davey goes into a singles match. It switches to Steen and Generico versus All Night Express. And then Hunter's like, or Delirious is like, I liked your guys' match from TV. We're going to do that again here. Kyle is Canadian. So obviously.
And at the time, we were just sort of like, they were just using us as like very generic babyface. They didn't have anything. They're like, just go out there, slap hands.
No direction.
Right. Just go out there, be good guys. Oh, okay, cool.
Just be babyface.
And in Philadelphia, which is where the TV tapings were held, it was cool. It was like 50-50, good reactions on both sides. As soon as we come out of the curtain, crowd just
killing us, just
kills it, and like unfairly, like we haven't even done anything.
Hadn't even walked out yet.
Yeah,
just killing us.
As soon as our music hit, and we were just like, okay,
like you know what? Actually, F these guys. And like I don't even like Canada. I want to go home anyway.
Yeah, and so that match we just wrestled with like such a chip on our shoulder, and then when we got done, that's when it was like, oh, like these guys can be bad guys. Like nobody really saw that in us before until then.
Yeah, because you have that look of a baby face, like, oh, yeah. And I hate it when people are like, they see somebody like, oh, he's obviously white, be baby face. We'll push him as white, be baby face.
Right.
But when you do that now in the culture of wrestling fans will eat you alive like the sharks that they are.
For sure.
But then people are like, oh, you didn't get over his baby face. Well, I guess we can't do anything with you. No, there's something you can do.
Right. Yeah, just try something different. So we come back, and Delirious was like, I want you guys to do that. And he was like, you know what? I know you guys, and you know how you guys talk about your grandma all the time? He's like, we're going to use that. So when you come to TV next time in Louisville, bring some clothes, and we're going to have you talk about your grandma. We're like, okay, we can do that.
So David Lagana was working for the company at the time. And like the one that's got the most popularity is the one from HDNet where we talk about
we had just, I mean, obviously this is, so we had just got squashed by our good friends, the World's Greatest Tag Team. And the first time.
The thumbs down match.
No, this was before that. This was another.
This was the first one.
Right.
Oh, okay.
This was even more.
Oh, we got the thumbs down plenty of times.
Right, right, all the time.
Okay.
Although, for the record, let the record show that when they were Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions in our only World Title match, we won by disqualification.
Right. So anyway, so they are doing this vignette for us where they're talking to us, and then they're they're putting in clips of this match where we are getting destroyed. I mean, it's like me taking a super kick from Shelton and Charlie
stretching one of us.
Yeah, like just destroying us. But, we're talking about our great feats of athleticism and how, we put up a good fight with these guys and how it was an honor for us, and I'm sure it was an honor for them. And
how they were the world's greatest tag team 8 years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's always gets the bigger reaction. And, I think that they didn't like that. They didn't like that line when they heard it. But it was just a joke.
Yeah.
Some people in wrestling and in life take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, heaven forbid that sets up for a match where they just whoop your ass.
Exactly.
People want to see that.
And then, they I don't know if anybody wanted to see it, but they definitely ended up.
They did it again.
Whooping that ass.
Happened again.
So even just and that one promo and then the one match with Colin O'Reilly in Canada got us a solid year and a half worth of bookings, because then after that we were on pretty much every show.
Yeah.
Like, we got matches in the Hammerstein Ballroom, we got matches in Manhattan Center, we got matches in Chicago, we got matches in just everywhere.
Yeah.
Every TV taping we were on, anywhere they would have us, we was there.
Yeah, you guys were everywhere at one
Right.
point in time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it just stopped.
Yes. So Ring of Honor goes to a change. They get brought by Sinclair Broadcasting.
Yeah.
We were actually the very first match on the Sinclair TV. So, like, the current TV product they have, it was us versus Colin O'Reilly, and the very first match ever on ROH TV.
And leading into this, they're going to everybody and, doing contracts. Like, we're going.
And even if you had a contract, they were like, these are new Sinclair contracts. So everybody needs to have a new deal in place before TV tapings.
And they came to us and they were like, look, we got big plans for you guys.
And also this time there was another booking change. Jim Cornette had joined the booking team. So now you're talking to Jim Cornette and Delirious.
So when they talked to us, they were like, we like what you guys have been doing. We're going to let you guys be the first match on Sinclair. We want to show some young guys. It's going to be you guys, Colin O'Reilly. They were like, we'd like the gimmick. Like, you guys are going to be some of the first guys to have merchandise out. We've got this.
The first guys.
Yeah.
That was one of the selling points on the contract, was you guys are going to be the first match. And the other selling point was you guys are going to have the first Sinclair branded merchandise.
We were like, okay, this sounds great.
Because you've paid your dues. You've hung in there.
Right.
You've got good reactions. You're poised. Everybody seems to like your matches,
Yep.
your reactions. You're poised for
I'm
them
very-
just give you a little push.
Right.
A little
They're
push
very
forward.
excited. And,
Because they don't need much to give you more than just a little push.
Right. We weren't asking for a run with the belts. We just, just give us a little something.
Yeah.
So we were like, yeah, that sounds great. And so, we're very excited. And we get to Chicago for the first TV tapings. And they're like, okay, go see Cornette. We're going to do your first little, it's just going to be like a little quick 30-second blip before the match. And then we're going to lead that into the match. Like, okay, that sounds great. So we go back, and Cornette's telling us, like, what he wants us to talk about. And he's like, you guys are North Carolina. Yeah, from North Carolina. He's like, you guys got the Cherokee, right? You guys got the Indian in you. I was like, oh, yeah, well, my dad, he's...
We're like 164th Cherokee.
Right. I was like, I guess he saw a picture of my dad, because my dad looks straight up Native American. But anyway, he was like, hey, you guys got that? He's like, mention that. He's like, I think we can use that as, like, like a real fighting spirit type thing, like Cherokee warrior. I was like, that's not really what we talk about. He's like, yeah, I know. He's like, but see, Davey's, going to run for the belt, and he's going to talk about his grandma.
He's doing it in memory of his grandma.
Right. So we're not going to have you guys talk about your grandma. We're going to have you talk about Native Americans. So we were like,
can you believe this?
oh,
Have you ever heard that before? I'm sorry.
No,
maybe-
I've never heard this before.
100% true.
So, and they tell us, we get an email the week before from Hunter, and he's like, hey, you guys are going to be the first promo as well on the TV, so please be thinking of some ideas.
And bring your headdress.
Well, no,
unfortunately, they didn't tell us that.
Yeah, didn't tell
so
us
it's
that.
like, we're in our Argyle sweater,
Yeah.
sweater vest, and like we have what we're gonna say, and then Cornette says, "Oh, but we do a promo, like we just go in there and we kill it." The first one's like great. He's like, "Oh, that was very good, guys. But this time, don't talk about your grandma."
Yeah, not going to do that.
Yeah, and then what do you say and what do you do when somebody just
It's like, your character, don't do that. Don't do the character.
the character that we've been building over the past 8 months now?
Don't do
we're
that.
Gonna, we're gonna give that to Davey now.
We're going to have
because
you guys
Davey
be...
isn't already the most over guy on the entire roster.
Yeah.
Like
At
he
this
doesn't-
time, Davey Richards was like the hottest wrestler.
Yeah, I'm
in
sure
the
you
world.
remember,
Like,
but-
no doubt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He poised, and everybody even when Eddie had the belt, like, can't you just put it on Davey? Like, you
Right.
know, it doesn't get more over than that. They're like, no.
Right.
Like, he was the most over thing. Everybody was behind him.
And so,
110%.
and I don't hold Dave responsible for it.
No,
It's just-
and he can still talk about his grandma in that way, but
Right.
it doesn't take away from what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And if anything, you could build off that. I'm like, Dave Richards talking about his grandma. grandma.
Well,
but like
just
our
one
grandma
match,
loves
though.
us.
Right.
I'm
You
not
know,
booking.
just-
I'm not going to book the angles of what could have been, but I mean,
well, I mean, not
You're right,
not
but you're
against
exactly right.
Davey, but I'm just saying you have this really emotional promo of Davey, and then it fits with your character. I'm like,
Right.
you know what, Davey, and
that just makes us look like bigger dicks.
yeah, dicks, but he's pouring his heart out, and you guys like, yeah, I know how you feel. You know,
yeah.
it
Like-
made you more privileged.
Yeah,
And,
like our grandma didn't cook us breakfast this morning. Like I know what it's like.
the
Like
hardships.
anything.
See my grandma not being there.
Right.
Like you could build off that, and then
Yeah.
you get more heat, and you're separate.
Could have been, but unfortunately, it was not. And that was the first time where it was like, oh man, this is not cool. Like we've
step forward, 2 steps back, and
Right.
we're just like, okay.
so from there.
But we had the good match. The match was good. I mean, like that was still like nobody can ever take that away from us. Like we were the very first match on the Ring of Honor television show.
And see what's frustrating about that, and I do like Jim personally.
I
like Jim.
Jim
Yeah,
as well.
I don't have a problem with Jim.
But there are certain things that he says and does that are contradictory to what his career was about.
Right.
Like he doesn't like the Bucks because they do too much stuff, but that was the knock
That
on
was
Midnight Express.
for sure, 100%. Yeah.
You know, and then like
His finish was a top rope leg drop.
Yeah.
Like
And at that time, who was doing
That's
the top rope?
crazy.
and what what he got over for was especially like my mom and my mom's money and stuff like that. What if Bill Watts said to him, "Don't talk about your mom because Terry Gordy's going to talk about
Right.
his mom."
Right.
And handicapped in that way. You'd be damn sure that in a shoot interview 20 years later, Jim Cornette would be cutting a tirade on Bill Watts for telling him he's not allowed to talk about his mom.
And it's not like, everyone in the world has had a grandparent at some point. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like this is a very exclusive thing. Like, I'm not talking about my elite MMA training that only so many people have a black belt. I mean, I'm talking about my grandmother where everybody
very
has a
general,
grandmother.
right? Very general.
But regardless, that was the first time when we were like, oh, man, this isn't really as good as we were hoping it was going to be.
And we were like, we just signed these contracts. Like for better or worse, we're in these contracts for the next 2 years.
So was it 2?
Yeah.
It was 2 years. Okay. So we continued to do shows. And then thanks to our good friend Chris Hero, he was able to get us a spot at Pro Wrestling NOLA. And
So, but real quick, just to back up. So we lose the match to Colin O'Reilly, and then we're on every show, but we're still not like we're just spinning our wheels. It seemed like every time there was a booking change, it was like, okay, we're starting over. Then we get hot. Okay, we're starting over again. Get hot. Okay, Jim Cornette's around. We're back down.
I think the point he's trying to make is that when he say get hot is that we at many different times were used as baby faces and then used as a heel and then used as a baby face. It really just depended on whoever we were in the ring with. Like that was our job, was just be flexible. Like if you need us to go be heels against the baby face, we'll go be heels against the baby face. If you need us to go be baby faces against these heels, that's how they would use us too.
So the second TV taping, we had just worked heel like straight bad guys against Colin O'Reilly. The second TV taping in Louisville were baby faces against the Young Bucks, and it's like that was 4 episodes ago. Like if these people are following this TV program for no rhyme or reason, now we're out here slapping, high fives with everybody and kissing
how
babies.
can you be a babyface against the Young Bucks?
Right.
You can't do it. You just
And
really can't.
to be fair, at the time they were not as hot then as they are now.
Yeah.
So, but of
it
course,
would have been a little bit easier task then.
Right, but of
now
course, yeah, it's
next to
impossible.
now.
But they're still their moves are awesome and
Yeah.
like they're crisp and like
there's no way not to like them. And
Yeah.
I like them. They're great guys.
Yeah. But
so and that's the kind of thing we were dealing with. And then so we're finally just like, okay, like something like it just give us something. So we go to Delirious and we're just like, look, man, like what is it? Like one or the other, no problem. Just tell us what you want and we'll do it. And then we never get a straight answer from him. So we're like, we need to start trying to figure out something else. And that's when we inquire about Japan.
Right. And a lot of people, I've had numerous people, because, obviously Ring of Honor used to have a working relationship with Noah before they had the working relationship with New Japan. And I've had multiple people come up to me and be like, oh, Ring of Honor got you guys over there. That is the furthest thing from the truth.
Their relationship was over at this point.
Yeah, nobody was going over except the people who already had a relationship with Noah, like Eddie Edwards and Chris Hero and a few other
People that
guys.
had stayed in the dojo prior.
Right. So, we told Hero, like, man, we would love to go train over there. Like, if you, if there's anything, if you could tell us what we need to do. And when he was over on tour, he was like, I'll speak to some people. And he spoke to.
He's like, just give me a package. He's like, just give me a match, a promo picture, and I'll make sure I put it in their hand. If anything happens,
it's from there.
Right.
And we did. We gave them the information they needed, and then they contacted us and said, we'd like to bring you guys over, and you can come stay here and train, and we'll use you on the shows. And we went at the beginning of 2012.
Yeah, January 2012.
And stayed for 3 months in the dojo.
But the thing was, so we finally tell them, we find out like 3 months before. So I guess we find out around, I want to say October, but generally somewhere in October. And then we're like, hey, we're going to Japan. We tell Ring of Honor, and we had just signed the contract, so we didn't really know how they were going to react to it. And Delirious was just like, oh, that's cool, no problem. And then he was like, but now you're going to be on a losing streak. The thing was, we were on a losing streak already.
Anyway, yeah. So
like,
that was
that's how we're going to do it. He's like, here's the plan. He's like, you guys go on a losing streak. You lose at final battle. You disappear. You go to Japan. You come back. You get a big win.
And
like,
this was like, sounds makes sense.
At least it's something, right? Like
Yeah.
at least at this point, okay, cool. Like that's what we're going to do then.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, we're about a year into our contract. So we got like, okay, we're going to lose for 3 months, go to Japan for 3 months, come back, and then we'll have about 4 or 5 months before our contract's run out.
Mm-hmm.
So they were going to be up in the August when we got back.
Mm-hmm.
So we go until April, and then it's WrestleMania weekend shows. And we're like, hey, we'll be back. Like, we can come back for that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, you're not needed.
We don't need you guys for that.
I was like, what better way to get a big win than on WrestleMania weekend? But we're like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a Chicago show, and it was very good. Like, it worked out for us that we did wait because we wrestled the Young Bucks in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just incredible. Like, just the crowd was into everything we were doing. The Bucks were getting hot at that point too.
It was the perfect reaction that we were hoping for, like, to come back. Like, the crowd was really behind us, which was not something that had been
They had no reason to be.
right.
Yeah, but like you went off to Japan, people kind of knew about that,
Right.
so it's like, oh, they're out there paying their dues, and anytime anybody goes over and then comes back, they're always
Right.
better than they were before.
And what is so cool, it was a doubleheader. So it was Chikara in the afternoon, same venue, and then Ring of Honor that night. And we were just bad guys in Chikara. And, like, they were all over us, like, booing, booing, booing. But then as soon as we came out of the curtain 6 hours later,
Mm-hmm.
on the Ring of Honor show, we would get this hero's welcome. And it's like, that's cool. Like, not many performers, in my opinion, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but not many performers, I think, could have done that.
Yeah.
Could have been, like, straight bad guys 6 hours earlier, same venue, same fans, and then come out and get that. Like, I thought that was really cool.
But I think that speaks testament to Chicago fans because
Right.
Chicago is
The
like
best.
my favorite place in the world to wrestle.
Yeah.
Best wrestling fans, I think.
They're very good fans. They're very knowledgeable. It's almost like, okay, we know we need to hate them right now.
Right.
Oh, they're on this and they're at this match. We really want to get behind that.
Right, and
You
it's
know?
so cool, man. It makes our jobs a lot easier, obviously. So
Yeah.
And so we have a great reaction from the crowd.
we come back to the curtain, and Delirious says, "That's the best match I've ever seen you guys have," and we're just like, "That's got to be something." Like,
Oh, that's great. Good.
Right.
That's good to hear.
uh,
And then TV tapings come up in about 3 weeks. So
Yep.
we're like, okay, cool. We'll be, got this. We'll be going. And then they don't use us on TV.
not on TV at all. We're on the pre-show, and it's just like, man, what is going on? You know what I mean? And, like, especially, like, we had the guys, like, after that match with the Bucks in the locker room, they're like, oh man, like, this is the start of something for you guys. Like, it's coming. We're just like, well, yeah, we've been hearing that for a year now.
Mhm.
And, like, so I don't know. Like I said, it was like we thought that was like, okay, this is the start of something, and then it was 2 steps back. Like, oh, now we're on the pre-show again.
Yep. And then, so we weren't on the next set of TVs. And at this point, we have just become really bitter about the whole situation. And not like, I don't think we ever felt entitled. Like, oh man, we need to be getting something. But we just couldn't even get a straight answer. Like, we couldn't even get, because at the time it was Delirious was booking and Cornette booking, but if you talk to one of them, you get one answer. If you talk to the other one, you get the other answer, and it just never.
Or oh, you should talk to Cornette about that, and then we talked to Cornette. Oh, you should talk to Delirious about that.
Right. So we just could never we've been getting the runaround for like 2 years almost now. So they started hitting us like, oh, it's about time to re-sign contracts.
So
and you've been
it's summer.
setting up rings. You've been doing the spotlight. You've been, pre-show matches for years. You've gone now to Japan. You're
Right.
getting the reaction.
And
So
they were-
you're almost like you feel like you kind of deserve something.
And when we got back from Japan, they were like, you can't do ring crew anymore.
Right.
They were like, you guys are done with ring crew.
Yeah. So we at this point we're not doing ring crew, which after the way the Ring of Honor place worked was when you were training, you did ring crew for nothing. You just went and did it because you were paying your dues. Once you got finished training, you got paid for ring crew, and you get paid well for ring crew. Now, like I said, it was a brutal setup, but at the same time, we were getting a good pay.
It's 12 to 13 hours of your time, but it's a good pay.
And the guys that usually doing are the undercard guys, and it helps you supplement. So almost like everybody in the show is almost getting paid about the same.
Right,
at the end of
right.
the
If you're
day.
doing right,
At one point, this is I probably
legit.
shouldn't be telling this, but at one point, Rhett Titus was the highest paid dude in Ring of Honor because Rhett was driving a truck. You get paid for driving a truck. You get paid for setup and breakdown, which he was doing. Plus, he was under a contract with On Express, so they were getting one of the top tag team monies. So he was, at one point, Rhett Titus was making the most money in Ring of Honor.
But at the same time, too, that brings a sense of fairness, community, and family, and shows that nobody's better than anybody else, which is what Ring of Honor's always been based on.
Yeah.
So anyway, they start hitting us like, yeah, it's time to re-sign contracts.
This was about 2 months out because we were supposed to expire in August.
Mm-hmm.
And this was in, and that TV taping was the May TV taping that we were left off of.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we were just kind of like, maybe it's time for us to go.
Yeah, maybe we'll just wait. Maybe we'll just wait. And then the next thing that comes out is, well, if you guys aren't under contract, then you're not going to win. And we were like, oh, well, no surprise there, nothing new. We don't win anyway, so no.
And that was their argument was, we're not pushing you because you're not, like, it was like almost a leverage thing. Like, we're not pushing you because you're not in a contract now. So our contracts expire in August,
Mm-hmm.
but we're still wrestling like per appearance
Mm-hmm.
based on our prior agreement. So we're still wrestling and still just losing continually. And we're just like, you're not, like, why would we resign?
When we were under contracts, you weren't doing anything with us. So.
And now they're like, oh, but it's you're not winning now because you're not under contract.
But when we were under contract,
They
they
had
still
a
weren't.
chance.
There still was nothing. So we don't care about losing. Obviously, we've been losing. We've made a career off losing. Like
And losing means nothing,
Right.
really, as long as you have a good match.
Right.
If you have a good match and you're attached to it,
Right.
usually it does more for you than winning.
I remember one time. This is over any promotion, over Japan, the UK, Ring of Honor, any independent promotion we went and wrestled for. We had a 10-month streak where we did not win a match. And I was fine with that. Like, whatever.
We
who
didn't
cares?
care.
Yeah, so we weren't
But we
asking
were
for a
wrestling
push.
twice every weekend. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't from a lack of shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were getting beat in that time. You know what I mean? 8 times a month?
Yeah.
For 10 months, 80 matches down.
But you're in demand.
80
Right,
matches
yeah.
thumbed down.
Because you're the guy that puts everybody over,
Right.
you know,
It-
and everybody goes through that loop where they're like,
saying-
oh, these guys are great, we need to book them. You wrestle our local tag team, you go under them, they get over, but you're the ones going to the next town, to the next town, to the next
Right.
town, and there's always everybody goes through that period where you're putting everybody over.
Yeah, and that's fine because we were making good money. So it was just like,
Yeah, a
let's
lot
do
of top
this.
stars right now went through that process. You know,
Yep.
like Ricochet for a while, and Rich Swann was always the guy you brought in against the other person's high flyer, and they were going there. And now you look at these guys, and they're doing big things now.
Right.
Right.
And I think, like he said too, like, we don't have a sense of entitlement. Like, wrestling doesn't owe anybody who gets in it anything. It just happens. Like, you get in, and like okay, you want to be a doctor. You go to school, you go to a good university, you get your degree, and then you're set up. You're a doctor. You go to wrestling school. There's no guarantee. Like, there are wrestling schools that help you get better places, but it's not going to make you a living.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just all a guess. Like,
Just luck.
it's just luck.
Yeah.
So it's a good position to be in anytime you can make money. And if you got to be the guy who loses,
So
that's
be
your
it.
job. That's your-
And you guys are happy with that role, and you're ready to do
Absolutely.
it on your own and
Yeah.
be independent, true independent
Right.
contractors. in a
So
sense.
we just decided we weren't going to sign with Ring of Honor again. We went to Japan.
Well, back just a little bit. Like, so we're still using on TVs, and we're losing. And I remember specifically, it was actually Jim Cornette's last Ring of Honor
Mhm.
show.
Oh, yeah.
And this is
It was in
fits in with the
Pittsburgh.
story. It was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
A funny thing, it was in the ice garden.
Yeah.
So there's ice under the rink, and it's just a rug. There's no, like, wood or anything.
Oh, wow.
So when you watch the TV episodes, there are people in, like, coats and toboggans freezing to death.
We're in Pittsburgh in like January
Yeah.
in,
Literally
in
an
an
ice
ice
palace.
rink.
It was November. It was a
November,
November TV
okay.
tape.
Yeah.
So that was just a funny thing. And we're wrestling Bobby Fish and Kyle. Is that their first match as a team, and
Right.
now they're just super successful,
Yeah.
like IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions.
Mhm.
It was their first match, and we do our pre-match meeting, and then, like, okay, these guys over 10 minutes. Bravados, do your normal thing. Red Dragon, get it yourself over. And we're just like, okay, cool. And I just remember thinking during that meeting, Cornette said something along the lines of, if you guys would re-sign, maybe things would be different. But right now, this is your job. And I was just thinking, this is our job right now, but we don't have to re-sign these contracts. We can just walk away.
Mhm.
And that was the first time I was like, well, yeah, like, we don't need to be in Ring of Honor. Like, to be professional wrestlers, you don't have to be in Ring of Honor.
Mhm.
And that was the first time I remember having that feeling like, yeah, like, maybe we should start looking at other things. So that was it. They beat us, and we were scheduled to go to Japan again. Like, I remember that week is when we got the email like, hey, you guys are confirmed. Here's your work visas. Here's your flight information. Come back to Japan for another 3 months. And it couldn't have happened at a better time because I was just getting that feeling like, hey, like maybe it's time for us to move on. So we were on the January TV tapings of 2013. We wrestled the American Wolves, and that was it. That was our last.
That was our last Ring of Honor match.
So our last Ring of Honor match was January 2013, and the main event against the Wolves, though. So I mean, you can't go out.
Yeah, it was
that.
Yeah. No.
So I mean, you can't go out.
No.
And then the next day we got on a flight, went to Japan, and Hunter or Delirious was like, "Look,
You got to bleep that because he's very sensitive about that.
Oh no, I've already made mental notes.
Okay.
Delirious was like, look, go to Japan, because Cornette was gone now. That TV taping was also Cornette's last TV taping for Ring of Honor. So Delirious was like, look, I'm pretty much the guy now. Like, you guys go to Japan, do your thing. Your last month over there, email me. We'll see what we can do. So now it was like, okay, like maybe this is going to be something.
Maybe this is a new regime. For the first time now, we don't have to worry about bouncing back between
like now
Cornette and Delirious.
But also too, I think nobody thinks about this, especially during a very heavily criticized time of that company.
Right.
Very heavily criticized. I think people forget what was really going on with the dynamics of things, because before they were a DVD company. They were selling big shows, something to put on a marquee, and trying to build big houses. When you become a TV product, and I don't think even the common wrestling fan or even just the smartest wrestling fans even understand the fact of how much that changes the dynamic of your booking and how you set up matches, how you deal with talent. You have to draw things out longer. You have to have more stories. You have to be focused more on promos, not on booking the big match. You have to decide when the big match happens. You have to place it in your schedule of where your big shows are going to be, but then you got to relate that according to TV ratings and this, and it's a big complex thing that I don't think there's a learning curve to that, and it seems like that a lot of people got caught up in that, and were criticizing him because it wasn't the way it was before.
Because, as you said, it went from being you wanted to have as many just amazing matches as you could on one DVD so you could sell it.
So buy that show and you're done and you're over.
Right. Now you need little entertaining segments to segue between one match and the next match.
To stretch through a year of programming.
Right.
So then you can re-up your contracts and everything else. You know, and I think that changes your dynamic of anything. That's why when these independent promoters are like, let's go get TV, I'm like, no, that's the worst thing you ever do to your product.
And it's money.
Ever.
It's money too. Like, that's always the thing is, how much money are you willing to sink in before you see a return on your investment?
And things you do on TV you can't necessarily do on DVD. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to dumb things down, you have to switch things up, and that's just, it changes dynamic.
And like 05, 06, 07, like it seemed like every Ring of Honor show was like a super show. Like, you got to see this show.
And I think that's why with Ring of Honor having to make that change in that dynamic of putting on super show after super show, I have to get this DVD, I have to see this particular show in general, that grew PWG's business. Because they're one of the few that still do that. It's just like, we're just going to throw a bunch of matches and we're going to put this match on and go, I have to see this.
Right. And I think that like they definitely filled that void, because now people are like, where are the big shows happening? And plus, I think it behooves PWG to not run iPay-per-view, to not just keep doing what you're doing because it's working very well for you.
Because there were so many people before in 05 and 04 doing that. You had your Jersey All Pros. You even had like your 3PWs and everybody else. Now all of a sudden it's only just PWG, so all the attention of people that want that type of wrestling are focused in one position right now. So, but I mean, with the change of Ring of Honor and stuff like that, I mean, I'm sure you guys probably felt that. At the time you were like, I don't know what's going on, but maybe hindsight now you're like, okay, this is what was going on.
Right. And like, it's not sour grapes. Like, we're not mad. Like, we have a lot of our careers thanks to Ring of Honor, like you said. Like, people still remember us for, like, we have people today. We haven't worked for the company in 2.5 years.
No, this is 100% true. When we go out to the gimmick table tonight, there will be somebody who will come up to me and say, I saw you guys on Ring of Honor the other night. It happens almost every weekend, and I'm thinking, you have not seen me on Ring of Honor.
Unless you're watching reruns.
in many, many years
but
at this point.
But I think that's the reason why people still feel that way is because you guys are always around and you guys have kept your face prevalent. Because there's some people that leave and they could have just disappeared. Especially like, it's not like Chris Hero leaving Ring of Honor at that time. Like Chris Hero already had a reputation. You
Right.
could have gone and doing other things.
Right, yeah.
You guys were taking a very big gamble.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
And to go out and do that.
And it didn't pay off at first, but I think over time it did. Because that's what we needed. We needed something. We needed change.
Right. And I will say, like, without a doubt, the most fun I've had in my wrestling career has been after I left Ring of Honor. Like,
Yeah.
I was so miserable by the end of it. I was just like, oh man, I just don't even like this anymore.
Like, you can only get beat down so many times. You can only just be told, like, oh, just keep waiting, just keep waiting.
And you don't want to be that bitter person.
Right,
And
right,
sometimes
yeah.
you need to make that change to be better. And the thing, too, is, like, they don't want that. And,
Right.
like,
No.
you're not showing them the best of what you got. So
Right.
let's walk away and maybe we come back to this.
Yep. And like I said, it's been 2.5 years since we had a Ring of Honor match, and people still say, oh, I love your stuff in Ring of Honor. Like, it's just how it is. Like, last week, I sold a shirt to a guy who said his favorite match. What was it?
This was crazy because when he said it, I was like, man, of all the matches in the world, in the history of the world,
He said his favorite match was this.
he said from New York, it was
It was Death Before Dishonor.
right. It was a triple threat tag team match, and it was us, Future Shock, and the Young Bucks. But the elimination match. But the thing that was cool about that match is it was set up like, when you have a triple threat match, there's 3 legal people. Like, all 3 people are involved in the match. Well, this was set up as a tag match, but it was the same rules. It was always one person was legal from each team until the elimination. So I've never seen another match like that. And I guess just one of Delirious's cool booking ideas was that we were going to have a triple threat tag team match.
So there were always 3 legal men and always 3 illegal men.
And you could only tag your partner. You couldn't tag somebody else's partner. So, and I remember I really liked that match, but of course we were the first team eliminated. But when he came up, he was like, "That's my favorite match." That was his favorite match, and I was like,
that was 3 years ago.
"Yeah." And I just remember thinking like, "Wow, that's the first time anybody ever told me that, and probably will be the last time." But I just remember thinking, "Wow, that's really crazy that match was your favorite match."
And that you guys still remember us for that, because now we've been wrestling. We graduated the Ring of Honor Wrestling Academy in April of 2008. So, and we started in October 31st of 2007. So it took 6 months. So that's almost 7 years. And that little 2-year span, like, that's what people remember us for. Like, I just think that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you like I said, but you've gone out and you made a name for yourself. Like, what are some of your big highlights post then? Like, because you guys spent a lot of time in England. Like, you guys would go over there for like entire summers.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
We go to Japan, and the second time, like, creatively, was just fulfilling, because it was just like, it's like, oh, like, we're probably not going back to Ring of Honor. We kind of knew. It was just like, we're just gonna go ahead and, like, just kill it. Like, every match I'm just gonna go ahead and, like, wrestle with a chip on my shoulder. And that's me personally. I don't know about you, but when I'm wrestling with a chip on my shoulder, like, when I have something to prove, that's the best me.
Oh yeah.
But it's hard to find it. Like, you have something.
Somebody needs to be a dick to you
right
early in the day.
Right.
You need somebody to really piss you off.
But if you got it, man, you got it. That's my best matches. Like, have always been when I'm like,
some of my best matches came off of Bobby Houston saying something sideways to me.
Right.
And the only bad thing about that second tour of Japan we went to was like, we had a lot of really good matches, but unfortunately the way Noah did their shows was they were only I think maybe only 3 matches were filmed from the whole 3 months we were there, because there was no TV for them at the time. So,
like, we were main event house shows sometimes. Like, crazy. Semi-main event with Go Shiozaki.
Yeah.
Like, what is like, why is Noah see this in us, but Ring of Honor's having us wrestle the second match? Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
and
It's
it was
crazy. I wrestled Segura, who had just lost the GHC heavyweight championship, for 20 minutes. He treated me as his equal when I can't even get 10 minutes on a pre-show.
And it was, I remember after that show, we were getting ready to go to the bus, and this little Japanese dude comes up to Clint, and he's like, "Oh, very good. Segura-san, maybe greatest Japanese champion ever. Oh, you're
And
very strong.
You
Very
almost
strong."
win.
Yeah, he was,
Like,
it was just.
It's frustrating because, like, there's times you have to have belief in your own ability,
Right.
and you have to believe, and people are beating you down. You have to have that constant thought. But when you are going somewhere else and it's being successful, and they're like, how is this not computing?
Right.
Especially in a situation where they can't even understand the language, which most people remember you from the promos,
Right.
and you're not doing the promos,
Right.
you're just doing the in-ring stuff. So
Exactly.
you're almost handicapped a little
Yeah.
bit in a sense, but you're getting over better.
It was just crazy to me. And like I said, like I'm getting put, like we're having matches against tag champs. We're having like, it was baffling.
And I think after that tour or during that tour is when we really figured out like we don't want to go back to Ring of Honor.
And like and it also gave us the confidence, like we're killing it over here with the top guys here. Like now we know, like now, before it was like, oh, if we had the opportunity to wrestle top guys, we could be top guys. Now we're getting the opportunity to wrestle top guys. It's like, oh, we can be top guys now. So our confidence was,
One thing I'll say is that we have never lacked in confidence. That's
even maybe when we should have,
we do not lack in confidence.
Even now, maybe we should and we don't. But so the last month I'm there, I'm like, okay, let's email Delirious and see what's up. And he's just like, hey, like we're gonna have you guys come back at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
This was WrestleMania weekend. This was the following year, WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah,
in New York,
sold out Hammerstein Ballroom. And he's like, but we're not going to give you a raise. We're going to give you the same contract you had before.
And basically what had happened was we pissed off the office. We pissed off the Sinclair office.
Yes.
And Delirious has always been like, like Delirious, I think, for the most part, has always had our back. But he can only go so far. We are probably one of the only people, there's been a few, but we pissed off Sinclair Broadcasting, like the corporation.
And that the boss is, you know what I mean?
Right, that's the money.
Don't cross the boss,
as
they say. But
that's where money comes in.
I think the part is like, I could be wrong, but I think we were the first people to be like, we don't want these contracts.
Yeah.
Like we don't need these contracts.
Because
we were
at a time where people would give the right nut for it.
They couldn't believe that we're not accepting these lowball
the
contracts.
Audacity.
They were already pissed at us, and then when they said, come back, you can wrestle at Hammerstein Ballroom, it's sold out, you guys can come back and wrestle, but we're not going to give you a raise because we want you guys
to earn it.
Basically, we want you guys to prove you want to be here, right? And we were like,
for the past 6 months, we haven't proved that we wanted to be there, even though we're putting over every guy that they put in front of us.
Right.
Or the stuff you'd already done prior to them ever buying the company.
Right. So and then it was just like, oh,
we were going to wrestle ACH and RD Evans.
Right.
Sold out Hammerstein Ballroom.
And we were just like, no, thank you.
We were like, no, thanks.
That's okay.
And then I remember the email sent back that said, you're declining a sold-out Hammerstein Ballroom, a booking a sold-out Hammerstein Ballroom. I said, yeah. And he said, okay, thank you. And that was it.
And we've never since wrestled for Ring of Honor.
And we're probably the only people in the world that have turned down a booking in a sold-out Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah.
So let the record show.
Yeah.
Maybe the only guys ever. And like...
just the balls of that, okay? Like...
And that's another thing, like...
And that probably has hurt us in the long run.
Yeah, like you could have just done one match and be like, listen, I'll do the match, but we got to think about some contracts.
Like if Sinclair wasn't pissed at us,
no, I don't want this.
If Sinclair wasn't pissed at us before then, they were certainly pissed at us.
There might have been a political out to that.
So.
But we had that confidence, and that's what it was. That was the confidence talking. It was like, no, like I know we're top guys now because we're wrestling Segura and Morishima and Go Shiozaki and Jun Akiyama every night. So like I know what we're worth now.
Yep.
So no, thank you.
And then we came back. We immediately started working for Dragon Gate and Evolve.
And Chikara.
In Chikara, we were still
like that was the. I know he said the most fun, like the most unfun time was during Ring of Honor. The most fun time in my career was like the Chikara run, and it was funny because like we were on Team Ring of Honor, like through the Chikara run. So even though we were like, and like we were on Team Ring of Honor in Chikara, but we were winning all the time. Like we were beating everybody. So I was like, that's another disconnect. Like, what does Chikara see in us that Ring of Honor doesn't see in us?
Yeah, and that's always frustrating when people see it and you don't. Like I've been places where it's like, oh, they get it, but you don't, and it frustrates you because it's pro wrestling. You know, like you should be able to see it. You know, because there's certain people you just see, you know, and they have it. But this person sees it, but this person don't. But I guess that makes it art in a sense.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you're right. And it's
different flavors of ice cream.
And I kind of like that because I'm like, okay, now I know what I need to prove to you. Like now you don't like what I'm doing, but I'm gonna make you like me. Like I take that as a badge of honor. Like I'm gonna make you like me.
One thing I'll say is that I do not claim to be the best professional wrestler in the world. I do not claim to be the best promo in pro wrestling, but I will say that I think as a unit and as a team and even just as individuals, we understand better than a whole lot of people how to do what is needed of us and how to do what is needed for a match or for a show. Like, I think we have an understanding that if you put us on your show, we will put out the best match possible given whatever you give us.
For your product as well.
Absolutely, and you are definitely one of those guys, because I was having this conversation with somebody recently, and I'm glad you brought it up, because you're one of those type of guys that look at where are you at on the card. Like, okay, we're fourth match, but this guy's before us, this guy's after this. Okay, they're going to see this from him, so we've got to do this. Okay, they're coming out of this. And you think about how that fan is going to feel when you come into the ring. There's a lot of guys that don't do that.
Absolutely.
They just do their match for however they want to do it.
Right.
You guys are one of the few guys that you look at a situation like, okay, this is where we are. This is what we got to do, because these people are going to feel this way when we walk out. You put yourself in the brain of the fans,
right,
sitting, the people that paid money to see a
the
wrestling
people
show.
that we want to keep coming back, so
Yeah.
that we need to appease them. Right?
Exactly. So you were figuring out what's best and what's going to work best for the show,
Right,
based upon what is around you, where you're at, and who you're working with. There are very few people that do that. And you guys are definitely one of those few.
Well, one, thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And that's things that wrestling fans don't see. You know what I mean? Like, I think.
And wrestling promoters don't even see.
Right. No, you're very right.
And
No,
other
you're very
wrestlers definitely don't see.
Right. And like that's.
It's a thankless job. It
Right.
really is, because it's very easy
But
to.
it's very necessary.
Oh,
You can
absolutely.
see it when you go to a show and it's 3 hours long and it's painful, or you go to a show and it's 3 hours long and it has people that think that way, they realize, okay, we're 2.5 hours in the show, we need to do this.
Right.
You know, like people that, you know, there's a big difference between good wrestling shows and bad wrestling
Absolutely.
shows. And
Sure.
it's people like yourselves that make that difference.
Thank you.
And as I say, it's a thankless job, because it's very easy to be an independent professional wrestler and think, I want to do whatever I can to become the most popular wrestler I can. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if that's your mentality, then that's fine. You can go out, you can hit every move you know, you can run over on your time, you can disregard the main event, you can do whatever you want to do to try to get yourself over. But at the end of the day, you better be the best if you do that, because if you're not as good as you think you are, and you go out and try to steal the show, you're just going to embarrass yourself, one, and two, you're going to end up pissing off the rest of the locker room or the promoter. So
Yeah. And there are people that have that path to success, but there's also just as many, if not many more, that
Right.
we've never heard of before
Exactly.
and never saw again because of that reason.
Exactly.
So
But you brought up England. Like, that was another, like, so we came home in April from Japan,
Mhm.
and then we left it in June for England.
Right. We had went and done some extra work for WWE, and for some reason, William Regal likes us, and I really like him. I've always liked Regal, but for some reason, he liked us.
Mhm.
And he was just like, so what are you guys doing now? And we were like, well, we're just kind of open. And we had some other friends that had already been to England the previous summer. Dan Walters went over, and he was telling us about it, and we just mentioned to Regal. We were like, man, we would love to do that. And he was like, okay. He's like, let me give you this email address. You can get in contact with the world famous Brian Dixon.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, great. He gives us his email address. We email Brian Dixon, and we don't hear anything. But we have decided, like, oh, we're going to England. Like, we're going.
Yeah, that's gonna
we're
happen.
going to England.
Yeah.
So without ever getting in touch with Brian, we go ahead and plan our trip to England. We're like, we're just going to go, because why not? Why not go? We don't have anything else to do. Might as well
Yeah.
go. So
we weren't Ring of Honor anymore.
right,
Yeah.
and we were like, we'll make it work. So I'm talking to Dan, because Dan's going back over, and I'm like, hey, have you heard from Brian? He was like, yeah, he sent me my work visa and all that. I was like, oh yeah, work visas are cool, but we're not worried about that. We're just going to go.
Legal documentation, we're not worried about that
Right.
at all.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I think you've gathered from us, like, we'll be okay. Like,
Yeah, if one thing you can say about us is, like, we're not afraid of pretty much anything. Like, if he was 18 years old, never been really out of Eden, North Carolina, we decide we're going to move to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We don't know anybody. We're just going to go to wrestling school. Like, we're definitely like, oh, the safety net will appear. That's the way we.
Yeah.
well, we'll turn down a booking, sold out Hammerstein Ballroom WrestleMania weekend. Like, oh yeah, we'll be okay.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So Dan's talking to Brian Dixon, and Brian's like, yeah, I would love to have those guys. Yeah, tell him I'd love to have them. And then we're like, oh, we're good.
Yeah.
We'll go. So we get our plane tickets. We go. And then all of a sudden, like,
2 days before we leave.
2 days before we leave, Brian calls me from England. I'm like, whoa, what is this? And he was like, oh, boys, when are you coming over? I was like, oh, we'll be there in like 2 days. He's like, oh, no. I thought you guys were coming in November. He's like, no, we can't use it right now. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go, but we'll see you there in a couple days. And Brian was like, I don't have room. I don't have anywhere for you guys to stay in the house. I was like, oh, it's fine. We'll figure it out. So we go get on the plane. We go to England. And we end up showing up at Brian.
No place to stay.
Yeah,
no
we end
place
up showing up at Brian Dixon's house. We knock on the door.
I remember we go to a Starbucks because we don't have phone service.
Yeah.
Right.
So we go to a Starbucks and we're just like, let's just Google his address.
Yeah. So we fly to Liverpool, and Birkenhead's right across the river from Liverpool. So we go. We get you have to. It's funny. You can't walk to Birkenhead from Liverpool.
There's a tunnel.
There's a tunnel, and they won't let you walk through the tunnel. You have to get a bus or a taxi, or whatever. So okay, get the taxi.
Don't have any money. Don't have any British currency.
Right. So.
You going? You're just gonna act like you belong there, and they're gonna let you be.
So we have a cop ends up like giving us some poundage to go get on the bus, and we take
Cop
the
just gave
bus.
us money, like, hey,
Yeah, I was like, man, I got my card. I don't have any money. Like, and he's like, we can't walk through the tunnel. So he gives us money to get on the bus, and we go and
he comes running like we're in the tunnel.
Right.
He comes running like, no, you cannot.
Like, what are you doing? Like, get out of the tunnel. And he's like, oh man, we're just dumb Americans. We don't know.
Just doing it.
Right. So we show up at Brian's door. Somebody lets us in the house. And Brian doesn't live in the house, luckily. So we just show up, and they're just like, oh, these guys are here.
And there are 8 guys in this house already.
Right, and this is not a big house.
Right.
So we're just like sleeping on the floor. And Brian's hope was, when we told him we were coming, he was like, oh, well, they won't be able to get in the country. They don't have work visas. They'll just turn them around.
Mm-hmm.
So we get in.
We're professional wrestlers, though.
Right,
Like,
so we talk
act
all,
like you belong
we
there.
talk all the way through customs. We get in. So Brian shows up at the house the next day, and he's like, you guys got in? And we're like, yeah. He's like,
but not like in like a happy way, like, oh, like you guys got in.
right. And then he's like, oh, you guys must. He said, you boys must have honest faces. And we're like, oh yeah. So he's really unsure about us because he's Brian doesn't watch wrestling. He doesn't know who we are or what we do.
He thinks you're closet serial killer.
Right.
Like you have honest faces, but you are a sociopath.
He doesn't
How
know.
crazy is that? We Googled the guy's address
Yeah.
and then went to his house.
Dan gave me his address. He didn't give me his address.
Like, how crazy is that? Like, if you think about it, we just showed up at this dude's house.
So finally, once we're there, he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll use them. They're here.
Right.
And then if they're not worth their weight, then I'll just send them home. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
I definitely don't have to use them in November then.
Right. Yeah, so he puts us on, and we get to work. First match, we get to work with James Mason and do you remember who this?
I don't remember. But
It was interchangeable, but pretty much we got to work with James Mason for a week. And if you don't know who James Mason is the man.
he's the best.
Like, he's one of my favorite British wrestlers, and he's amazing.
He's the best, in my opinion, the best British wrestler.
Right. So
I know that's a big debate, but I think.
So we wrestle with James that day. We have 3 matches, I think, and then he gives Brian the okay, like, oh yeah, these guys are good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So and then we were in, and we have a good relationship with Brian. Brian loves us. We love Brian,
And like we kind of knew it was like, oh, we're with James this week. Like, we know what this is.
This is a test.
Right. It's like he's going to test us and see if we can go.
Yeah.
And luckily, it went off without a hitch. And he's super easy to work with too. But we knew, like, we better be on our A game.
Yeah, you better be ears open.
Right.
but
Ears open.
yeah. And the thing is that it was a completely different thing. So for people who don't know what England is, like for Brian Dixon, he is entertainment for the Butlins camps. And Butlins camps, I've heard it described a lot of different ways, but I think about it like if you've ever been to Chuck E. Cheese or Celebration Station,
Right. Yeah.
it's like that, except people go and stay there. Like, stay there for weekends or for the
caravans.
weeks, and it's like their vacation. So you take a vacation to Chuck E. Cheese. So, and one of the rooms with entertainment is pro wrestling. So we travel to these different camps. And we had been in Japan 6 months earlier. You know, we'd been beating piss out of each other and strong style and all that. This is the exact opposite of that. This is you go out, you cheer the goodies, boo the baddies.
Southern style,
Southern
George
style.
South.
Right up our
Racetrack
alleys.
show.
Right.
Like,
Yes. So they, like, somebody had told Brian we had been in Japan, and he was a little like, oh, that doesn't mean nothing to me. And it was like,
show up at a house they've been in Japan. These guys are killers. Sociopaths.
right. And we were like, it doesn't, like, yeah, that's okay, though. We're not from Japan. We're from the South.
Yeah.
So no problem. So we go out.
We
and-
grew up on this. Like, we know what
Yeah,
this is.
yeah, we know what this is. The Tennessee water pump.
This
you
is
know?
us. Like, Japan's not us. Like, this is us.
Yeah.
Like, we're good.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes back to the versatility thing. But, yeah, we stayed over there for the whole summer, and then we went back the following summer. We didn't go back this summer because we just had other things going on. But, yeah, we love it over there. It's a great time.
I can't wait to go back. I'm super excited about going back. So.
Well, where are you headed out to? What's the future hold for you guys?
In November?
Looking at China, going back to we've went to China, and we're going back to hopefully back to China again tentatively in November. Hopefully England again in February. So I don't know. We've got some cool stuff coming up. It's cool.
And then PWX Wrestling, we're defending our tag team championships, and
that's not the right poster. I think
I was looking. I was like, oh, that's not tonight.
Yeah, it's not tonight.
But just other independent wrestling promotions throughout America.
Like anybody who will have us, we'll be there.
Yeah, we're welcome to come. And we'll lose and whatever you want.
Under for life. You know?
It's your gimmick.
It's moderately been successful for me.
No,
like, most people don't understand it, so don't try it. Like I fooled Steve Carino with it. He thought I was actually just complaining that I never won. So he tried to give me a win, and I had to fight with him.
Right.
Like Steve,
no, you don't understand.
That's funny. Steve didn't get it because Steve's a really he's
very
on top
astute.
of stuff like that.
Like right up his alley. Yeah.
But that seems to be my problem. Is I'm a little off. You know.
Not to me, Jake.
I want to say ahead of my time, but I'll just say I'm off.
Right.
But anyways, how can people get up with you and get in touch with you either as a fan or as a promoter or anything else?
At Lancelot Bravado on Twitter, or it's facebook.com/Bravado Brothers. Yep. You can email us at bravadobrothers@yahoo.com. That's right. We're still using Yahoo. We're not worried about Gmail.
Our website should be up in the next 2 weeks. bravadowrestling.com.
Okay.
Also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Harlem Bravado NC. So, but we'll have a lot of people. All right, 1 Hour Tees. Or a Pro Wrestling Tees store. Yeah. A lot of people have asked us why we don't have a Pro Wrestling Tees store. And it's simply, I understand we are probably doing ourselves a disservice by not having one. But like pro wrestling's or independent pro wrestling is kind of like supposed to be like punk rock, like do it yourself, right?
Yeah, you're an independent contractor.
Right. And so I feel like now everybody I know has a Pro Wrestling Tees store, but we do not.
Because it's easy.
It's easy, but that's not, as you can tell with our careers, we don't always choose the easy path.
Obviously.
Right.
Especially like sold out show at Hammerstein Ballroom. Right. I'll turn that down.
So we don't do easy.
Somebody will manage my merch store and they send me money? No, thank you.
That's not me. I'm more of a do it yourself guy. So we don't have a Pro Wrestling Tees store. A lot of people say, they come to our merch table and say, hey, I'll just get one of Pro Wrestling Tees. We don't have Pro Wrestling Tees, so please, if you plan on buying one,
if you just tweet me, we can do it PayPal, or you can send me a money order.
But that's why that's why it was such a priority to get our website made. So starting in a few weeks, I'm not sure when this will air, but
it'll probably be a few weeks. So hopefully it'll be open by the time. If it's not open by the time you guys have slacked off.
Something's wrong. Yes, something's wrong. But you'll be able to buy all of our merchandise there. It is bravadowrestling.com.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me.
Thank you, Jake.
Very in-depth conversations.
Maybe too long. I don't
know.
This is going to be bored to tears.
I don't think so. I think we got a lot of controversial. We came back, we brought it back around, and we made it hopeful. So I can't thank you enough. Like I don't have a lot of wrestling people on here, so you guys were definitely on the very short list of people I want to.
Well, thank you. So, did we bury anybody? I didn't want to bury anybody, did we?
No, I didn't bury anybody.
Good. I want to put people over, like Jake Manning. Jake Manning, great
Jake
guy.
Manning, one of my favorite guys. One of my favorite, not just wrestlers, one of my favorite.
So please support him. Please listen to this podcast.
And they just listen to it. So it's
continually. If you are a wrestling fan,
subscribe if that's a thing.
Subscribe. Yeah.
Please subscribe. That's the difference.
He's a good guy, and this is hard work, and he does a lot of hard work. So his hard work should be rewarded. So please subscribe to this podcast.
Okay. Well, now that you've made me feel uncomfortable, thanks for stopping by, guys.
Thanks.